All right, let's get started.
All right, welcome to our September Chapter Presidents and Advisors meeting. As always, this will be recorded and we'll share the slides afterwards, and then I'll be taking some notes off of the recording and putting those on our website afterwards as well. We have a pretty lengthy agenda looking, but it's really focused in on the annual meeting, and then we'll cover some of these same topics that we've talked about for the last couple of months again, and then we have our next chapter presidents meeting in 2 weeks at the annual meeting, where we can really dive deeper into some of our topics as well. Some updates, and Michelle, we didn't talk about who was talking about what today, but I think we've got a pretty good flow of it. Y'all have seen that we have 2 positions that are open within the TMN state office. One is our student program aide, and we have filled that position. Evelyn Gomez will be joining our team later this week. So she is going to be hitting the ground running with annual meeting and social media and website updates with us. And so hopefully you guys will get to meet her in person at the annual meeting, and if not, in the future on some of our virtual meetings. So she's joining later this week, so she wasn't able to make the call today with us. We also have another position that is still open and accepting applicants, and that is our program support specialist position. So we're excited to have some new faces and some new help for the Master Naturalist State Office. All right, Michelle, you want to give the update here?
So TMN Tuesdays coming up real quick. October 3rd is our next one. And just a reminder that that one's shifted up a week because this is our annual project fair presentations. And there are 4 chapters that have submitted projects this year to be presented during that TMN Tuesday, and we welcome everybody to attend and learn about these projects that are going on in these chapters, but also learn about how you may be able to emulate these projects in your local chapters as well, if there's something that fits your chapter's goals and ideas for the upcoming year based out of some of these projects that are being presented. And of course, all of these will be presented, and they'll culminate at the annual meeting with the announcement of the kind of the top projects of the year. So thank y'all that have submitted projects. So for the project fair contest, every chapter had an opportunity to do so. We had 5 that submitted, 1 that withdrew, and these 4 will be presenting in next week, October 3rd. So looking forward to that.
And then, they'll be recorded as well, so that if you're not able to join next Tuesday, because there's a couple of other things that are happening next Tuesday, we'll have this recording up as well. Michelle, we might have an error on this agenda that we'll need to just double check.
Yeah, we'll check that.
Okay. Some other updates. We've requested this a few times now, but with Evelyn joining us, we'll be pushing harder into getting your 2024 basic training class information for our website. It does say 2023 here. This is an old slide that I wanted to use as a placeholder to talk about the request for our 2024 training classes that are coming up. So once she jumps on board and settles in after the annual meeting, we'll be putting this out there for our chapters to be able to submit their training class information for 2024, so that we can help spread the word, share information, and answer any requests that come into the state office about our about upcoming training in their area. So again, this is a placeholder slide to talk about that will be coming. That request will be coming out to all chapters once Evelyn gets on board.
It's there on the website now for y'all to update too, if you have the information and don't want to wait.
Yep.
So.
Okay, so we kept the intros short and sweet, and everything else, not everything else, but the majority of this month's meeting is going to focus in on the annual meeting as we are closing in on all of the deadlines, all of the last minute rush to get ready for the annual meeting. We are here on our countdown timeline. Our registration closes on Friday. If you have had members register within the last week, they may have noticed a few changes on the registration. We are at capacity for our Saturday event, and we have had to remove that registration option for Saturday's event as part of the registration options that are available. There is a wait list started for that, and we are moving that wait list as we can for that event. But our full annual meeting registration to join us for the full event, that closes on September 29th, which is Friday. Sorry, I got distracted by the chat, and we'll make that correction. Robert and Dwight, thank you guys for catching that. That was a late night edit that we were working on, so apologies for the sleepy brains. So we're here on the timeline on September 29th with the registration closing. Next week we have our TMN Tuesday Project Fair presentation, and that is October the 3rd. Some reminders about the agenda, some specific needs for chapter presidents and chapter advisors. We have our chapter leadership reception. We are trying something different this year with the timing of this event. As requested by y'all and by our chapter presidents, we've had our chapter presidents lunch over the last couple of years, but it's interfered with other events that y'all have wanted to attend. So we're pushing it later to 4:30 on the opening day of the conference. So it's at Thursday, October 12th at 4:30 p.m. It'll be in the ballroom. It will be reception style. We'll have some snacks and some food and some drinks, and we'll have a meeting. We will be live streaming that meeting. We have not set that up yet, but as soon as we have that set up, we'll send it out to all chapter presidents and all chapter advisors, just like we do for this regularly occurring meeting with that link for that WebEx portal. So please stay tuned for that email. It's coming as soon as we get to that part of our to-do list. If you are attending in person, please make sure that you are registered for that session. That'll give us a head count for that food and beverage option that we're offering during that chapter leadership reception. We also have some non-presidents attending in place of presidents. That's fine. As your representative, please just again make sure that they are registered for that session so that we have that solid head count to turn over to the convention center for that time slot. Michelle, anything you want to say on that? Okay. So we did talk about this. Our Eclipse Field Day is currently full. I had a chance to talk with the East Foundation's director a few weeks ago at another conference, and he said that he thinks this will be the most number of people that have ever been on that property at any one given time in its history. So he's really excited about having the 400 plus master naturalists come out on property. They're also having a deer capture research event on the other side of the property the same day. So we'll have some company, but on the other side we won't actually talk to them or see them. But it'll be an exciting event nonetheless for the Elsals Ranch. Some updates on the Eclipse Field Day. We have a bunch of stuff that we're going to be handing out, we're going to be giving, and we've got some timelines that we're going to send out to all registrants. So I've had a few questions about what do I need to bring, where do I need to go, what do I need to wear. That's coming. I've got an email drafted that'll go out to all registrants specifically for the Eclipse Field Day that has all of this information on there of what to bring, where to go, and what to expect when they get to those field days. Because we've got some stations, so you'll want to bring your binoculars, you'll want to bring your cameras. We will be providing food, lunch that day. So again, we'll we'll send that information out. Please ask your chapter members for a little bit of patience as we are answering those questions, hopefully in a large bulk email that'll go out, if not this week, first thing next week. One thing I am sending out, I'm trying to get this off my to-do list early, is every person that walks on property has to sign a liability waiver that the East Foundation has put together for us. That helps to cover them as the hosts. They are landowners at the end of the day and do have to cover their access to the property that they've granted us so graciously for this event. So if your members have registered for the event but have not signed the liability waiver, I'll be emailing them as we're going through that list over the next couple of days. Michelle, anything to add on that? No. Okay, great. Again, we've got registration closing on Friday. We have had to change some of the, Carolyn, thank you. I'm going to answer your question now. Yes, we are providing transportation for the Eclipse Field Day. So we have 8 charter buses that are taking our whole crew out there to the El Sal's Ranch. That is part of the capacity limitation for this event, is that's how many people we can get on the bus. We'll talk about, in that email, we'll talk about what time we're loading the bus, what time the buses are leaving, and if you are not on the bus, you will be left because it is an hour-and-a-half drive from the McAllen Convention Center to the El Sal's, and because the El Sal's is a working ranch, they will have a person attendant at the gate allowing access for those that are on the bus to get into property. So I'll have all of that information in the email, but please don't worry about having to get there. We've got that taken care of.
And that's kind of the leave time is one thing that y'all can help communicate amongst your members and people you see, is that we plan to leave at 8 o'clock or depart at 8 o'clock. So being there to get loaded on the bus before that time will be important.
Yes, and I'm going to be obnoxious with the app notifications that morning. They're going to go out starting at 7 a.m. Get ready to get on the bus. 7:30, the buses are here. 7:45, get on the bus, because we have a sharp timeline to get to the property on time in order to get all of the things that set up before the eclipse starts. That eclipse starts at 10:30 that morning. And so we want to make sure that we're there with plenty of time to get set up for watching that astronomical event. It will not wait for us if we are late.
And buses are not rotating that day, so once they leave and they're on property for the remainder of the day until we leave to come home.
Yes, thank you. More information coming out to all of your members, but please ask them to watch and to read those emails. They will be very important. Okay, registration, we talked about this. Registration is running right now. We have closed the 1 day for Saturday because we are at capacity. We have closed the 2 day that covers Saturday as well because, again, we are at capacity for that. So if you're just wanting to come for Friday, then you'll sign up for just 1 day Friday or 1 day Thursday. The rest of the registrations are open, so full event, not including Saturday, 2 day Thursday and Friday, 1 day Thursday and or Friday. Those are open through Friday of this week.
So I think the slide there says Thursday early registration closes, but yet we have it through the 29th. So I think can that actually be Friday?
Yes, that
early
is.
registration.
I didn't
update
that's
old
that.
slide. That's early registration.
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm so sorry. That's early registration. I was also reading Robert's chat. Will locals be allowed to drive on their own? Yes and no. So I just sent an email this morning to local chapter presidents to talk about local individual drivers. We're talking, of course, about the El Sal's Eclipse Field Day. Again, because this is a working ranch and they have a research program going on that day, they are having a limited gate access and a limited amount of vehicles are going to be allowed to be on property. So we're going to coordinate a carpool caravan from local chapters And so Robert, check your emails. I'm working with Donna and Robin to try and get, I've been in contact with Robin instead of you, but to try and get a carpool caravan of local chapters coordinated and timed for those entry time slots. So yes, and that's coming. Thank you guys for asking these questions, by the way, because this helps us to make sure that we're putting that information in those emails out to your membership, because you guys are asking the questions that inevitably they'll be asking as well. And I'd rather know what those questions are to anticipate, to be able to put that information in. We've put this slide back in here again. Lodging is still open, but we have heard that Wednesday nights are booked. 3 of our hotels are closing their lodging links later this week as well. 2 of them have those links open through the first day of the event. So please make sure that you have your lodging if you have not already. I've heard some email chatter about folks pairing up on Airbnbs in the nearby area, or staggering their coming in. So if they're coming in Wednesday and they weren't able to make a night at one of our conference center hotels, they're staying out at the island, South Padre Island, Wednesday night, enjoying the activities out there, and then driving over to McAllen for Thursday night stay. So it's interesting to see how creative you guys are getting on where to stay and just making a whole vacation out of it. So transportation, we do have a Slack channel open now for transportation. And I've seen some great interaction on Slack, and we'll be sending that Slack invite link out every single email that you get, so that if you have not joined the Slack channel yet, you can. That is a great way for you to talk to your fellow attendees about what they're seeing, what they're doing, where they're going. Hey, I need a ride for lunch on Thursday. Let's connect. So that is the purpose of that Slack channel. Those are non-monitored channels, so Michelle and I are not watching every single channel there, but it is a great way, it's a great tool for connecting for your fellow attendees. I've also set up individual field session private channels. So if you are registered for the Sea Turtle field session, you'll be getting a link for the private channel for that Sea Turtle field session, so that that group of people can set up their own ride share for that individual field session. Those have not gone out yet. They're going out tomorrow. That's on my tomorrow to-do list. So great. Glad Cindy was able to use it for hers. I did send a few of those out. I'm rolling, but the rest of them will go out tomorrow. Michelle, anything on Slack? Oh, okay. Oh, and there's some more on Slack. So it is available for all registrants. That we will have channels on transportation, on lodging, on field sessions, and more. And again, that's the QR code to join is right there. There's a great YouTube video on how to use Slack, and we've got some tutorial. We'll put that tutorial YouTube video in some of those emails as well. Sponsorships, we're still taking sponsorships for the conference. We will close this at the end of the week just so that I can get all the signs printed. So if your chapter has not sent in a sponsorship and isn't intending to, please just let me know so that I can make sure that I put your name on the list for printing. All of our printing goes to the printers on, part of it goes on Friday this week, part of it goes on Wednesday next week. So I want to make sure that I have everybody represented. And your intentions for sponsorship represented. This is the updated list of sponsors, of chapters that have participated in sponsoring this year's annual meeting. This is the most input we have ever seen for an annual meeting, and I cannot say thank you enough to every single chapter, even if not a sponsor, for sending your members, for getting involved, for filling us to capacity for this year's annual meeting. This is going to be a great one. So again, these are our sponsors for the event as of today. Vendors, we have a few more slots open for vendors. So if you are Also intending to be a vendor for this year's conference. That is going to press actually on Thursday, to print. I said on to press, but going to print on Thursday. I've got a few more slots that I'm trying to fill, and I've got some rumors of maybe 1 or 2 more vendors. But again, I'm closing that out on Thursday because I do have to send that to our convention center for vendors on Thursday. So, yep, here are our current vendors as of right now. So bring your checkbooks because there's going to be some really good ones. We have some commercial vendors, folks that are selling some things, and then some partner vendors, folks that are sharing information, sharing resources. And this list is going to be updated on our app as well. So A&M Press is bringing their books. Trust me, they always do a big sale on books when they bring their vendor booth, and I think it's usually 30% off, 20% off of their books that they bring. BCI is going to be there. Coco Ross, I got confirmation from Bill just again last week that he'll be there bringing some of his rain gauges to sell. Horned Lizard Conservation Society is coming. They're bringing their information to share with their partners. Texas Bluebird Society, excited to have them as a new vendor. Birding with Extension is a returning vendor, sharing information about their programs. We will have a VMS help desk there that'll be manned at certain hours to help with any questions that you have on that. Morningstar Prairie Plants is coming back again. Thank you, Mark. And he'll bring a large selection of native plants. So we're excited to fill gardens if you haven't filled them yet. Opticron Nature and Sports Optics. This is a brand new vendor that the Rio Grande Valley and South Texas border chapter were able to procure for us. Excited to have an optics company. The Friends of Laguna Atascosa are going to be there. They are also hosting some field sessions and in-person class sessions. USDA NRCS is going to be there sharing information, resources for all of our chapters across the state. And then one of our host chapters, the Rio Grande Valley chapter, is going to be there to help us find those places that we want to stop on the way home or places that we want to eat. Speaking of our local host chapters, the Rio Grande Valley and the South Texas border chapter are partnering on the silent auction again this year. The silent auction is how we are able to provide each of our chapters with a travel stipend. It's how we're able to provide our project fair awardees project fund for their winning projects. So our silent auction is a way for us to directly give back to next year's annual meeting. Thanks to the Galveston Bay area chapters work on last year's silent auction, we were able to provide those funds this year. So help us do the same for next year's chapters by providing donation items to the local chapters that are going to be hosting this event for us this year. Bring travel packages, naturalist items, books, handcrafted items, artwork, themed baskets, and we'll have that drop off on Thursday from 1 to 6. And actually, I think they'll even be there early that Thursday morning. And then that auction will run until Saturday at 6 p.m. They will accept cash checks and cards as well. Awesome. Carolyn, I always do Christmas shopping in the silent auction as well. It's a great way to find some good naturalist Christmas items. Last but not least, there's a few more updates on annual meeting things and some deadlines that are coming up. The curriculum bulk orders, that deadline is next Tuesday. A&M Press is bringing a truckload of curriculum so that you can save on shipping. Please make sure that you have that order into the bookstore, into the A&M Press store by Tuesday next week. I have sent that email out once. If you need it again, just email me. Otherwise, you can call the A&M Press office or email them at bookorders@tamu.edu, and I'll drop that in the chat here in just a second.
And just a reminder to whoever's picking those up, they are heavy, and to leave room in your vehicle or whatever vehicle will be taking those back, depending on how many you order.
Yep, exactly. It'd be hard to strap that to the roof of my car. Michelle, you want to give this update?
Okay, so we have usually at our annual meeting we recognize those people who have reached a milestone, one of our Master Naturalist milestones over the past year. And so the time frame for that is we are in the process right now of looking at milestones that registrants have reached from roughly October 20th last year to the current date, through September 29th. And if you've reached a milestone through that time, we'd like to recognize you at the annual meeting. As long as you're a registrant, we recognize registrants at the annual meeting for the milestones reached. And your VMS, your local VMS administrator for your chapter or coordinator for your chapter, just make sure that, or your membership person, whichever person does this at your local level, we check the TMN recognition tab in the user defined tab there. This is where we pull all the information for the awards and the information that goes on your name tag. So if your milestones or your members' milestones are not updated there and updated with the yes and the date, then we're not able to pull in the correct information. So just make sure if you've reached a milestone in the past year timeframe, that this stuff is updated at your local chapter level. And then we sent out an email earlier last month or earlier this month that if you have a member that has passed away in the past year that you'd like to include on our memorial slides, that just send me an email with the name and any chapter photos or photos of that person that you'd like to include. And we like to keep this for members who have passed. And then another item is that we do or takes place at the annual meeting is Donna Cole, one of our volunteers in the Blackland Prairie chapter. She puts together what we're call our annual chapter photo. It's like not a display, but a presentation. So Donna has requested that your chapter send in a maximum of 10 photos per chapter. Things that kind of represent what you've been doing or have done over the past year, and we'd like to get those included in the presentation. The presentation typically plays during as people are coming into our large meeting room prior to the Friday and Saturday night meals. So we'd love to see your chapter represented. If you could send up to 10 photos, no more than 10. Because that would make it excessively long. So the directions are there to where to send them, how to send them, and what to send. And then also, lastly, if you have any music suggestions that you'd like to have included in this rolling presentation, Donna always asks or looks for new and connected music that we can use in this presentation. So something that's kind of connected to our mission or may celebrate that. So. And another thing we have going on right now is we'd like to gather all of your pin orders for the last quarter of the year and hand them to you at the annual meeting. So that we can save a ton of money on shipping. And so we'd like you to go in and order the remaining number of pins that you'll need for the rest of the year into the system or the order form that we have on the website. Order everything that is certificates through the 2,500 milestone pin can be ordered on that form. Actually, all the pins can be ordered on that form. So all of the milestone pins, order on that form, pre-order. The only thing that you can't really pre-order is the 4,000 hour pin, because we need a name, and we need a name to go with that. And I also have to verify that the person has reached that milestone through VMS. So we're not able to pre-order that pin through the Presidential Volunteer Service Award pins. I'm not able to pre-order that pin until that person actually crosses that threshold. So, and then another note related to the PVSA award is that the Presidential Volunteer Service Awards part, the pin part of that package is still on back order. I can order certificates, but the pin is just not available right now. The PVSA pin is not available. If I can send you, I can prepare the Master Naturalist 4,000 hour pin that goes with it. So there's just pieces and parts that aren't available, and it's most efficient to order all those things all at once. Otherwise, we pay extra costs and extra shipping in doing so. So point of the story is order your pins, the pins that you can, through the order form there, and we will package them and bring them to you at the annual meeting.
Michelle,
So all of those will be delivered at the president's meeting, the president's reception that we're having. So the intention is for presidents or the designee attending that meeting to pick those up.
So Michelle, that kind of answers the question that Angela has in chat. She says if they are not attending the annual meeting, who or how do they get the pins, or will the pins be mailed to them?
So if you have anyone from your chapter attending the annual meeting, we'd like to hand it to them. But if your chapter is not attending the annual meeting at all, we will send those after the annual meeting.
And that brings up a good point too. I've had a couple of presidents email me to ask who from their chapter is attending. I can send you a list of all of those, all of the chapter members from your chapter who are attending, so that you have an idea of who's going and who's driving down there. Just email me for that. So speaking of things, Michelle, you want to talk about all the things?
So we mentioned this last month, that we have some care packages that we're care packages that we're sending home with you. And so we'd like you to be able to know a little bit about that, but most importantly, save some room in your vehicle or arrange some room in another person's vehicle from your chapter who would be traveling. So we have the pins, the recertification pin and milestone orders that are coming. I've ordered Master Naturalist project signs. So we'll have a set of those per chapter going home. I have something new for you. I think it's pretty exciting, but it will come in the form of 2 boxes that are about 3 foot long by 1 foot by 1 foot. So we have some other small items that are surprises for you those can fit in a suitcase. And then we will have our swap shop, our TMN swap shop. So anything your chapter wants to pick up from the swap shop. And that's just, we have that anybody from any chapter can bring things for the swap shop. I use it as an opportunity to clean out my office. So you never know what could be there. But those things are available, and the whole idea with the swap shop is that chapters can bring things, chapters can take things, but as far as Mary Pearl's and my office, nothing comes home with us after the swap shop. So it's there for the taking. And then a reminder again about the curriculum order, if your chapter is taking advantage of that, and then anything that you or your chapter wins at the silent auction.
Perfect. So stuff. There's going to be stuff. All right. So that kind of closes out annual meeting updates, annual meeting reminders, and timelines and deadlines. Again, there's going to be a lot of email traffic from us for all registrants in the coming weeks as we send out reminders and links for Slack and field sessions and Eclipse information. So please just help us to share that with your members as they need to read their emails, they need to check those, download the app, connect on Slack, so that they can stay updated. Getting into some of the other resources, things that are ongoing and everlasting. Our first update is about the end of the year succession planning. Michelle, you want to talk about that?
Yep, many chapters, we know you're kind of planning or you have elections coming up. So you're planning, either you're planning or you're going through nominations and election periods right now, or shortly thereafter the annual meeting. Just a reminder that your leadership sets the tone and the pace for your chapter for the next year. So pick a good one, or pick good leaders. And then one of the things I wanted to mention is that when you're trying to fill those roles at your leadership levels, you typically have to ask people, have one-on-one conversations with them if they're interested, or if they would like to serve in a specific role in the chapter. Just putting out a notice that positions are available, if there's anyone interested, kind of a blanket notice, you typically see better results of filling those leadership positions by the one-on-one conversations with people who your nominations committee feels would make good leaders and represent the chapter well. So also at this time of year, some chapters are beginning to think about planning their chapter leadership retreats with their new boards in the upcoming year. And many of our chapters do those. And many of our chapters, since we started talking about this a lot more last year, a lot of chapters started up or started again last year in the start of 2023 with these. So I just can't emphasize enough how important it is for your chapter to plan at a whole calendar year level, for you to host a retreat and kind of have that as an opportunity for your chapter to get and your leaders to get all on the same page about your goals and ideas for the entire year and where your chapter is heading. So the new year is an excellent place to do that.
And our leadership reception at the annual meeting is also a great opportunity for you to talk with your fellow chapter presidents about how they host their retreats and what content they talk about as well. So please come, if you are one that does not host a retreat and you're considering it, come prepared to talk to those who do host retreats at the reception.
And then this next item on the list is about entering your new leadership into VMS once they take office. That's on there a little bit early, but at the end of the calendar year, if as a chapter you can be assisting in getting those new leaders that will be taking office in the new year, getting that information kind of updated in VMS, that helps us communicate more quickly in the new year with the new leadership of your chapter for the year, for these presidents meetings coming up in the new year, and then other topics and other state office work that needs to be done. And then lastly, all incoming 2024 chapter presidents are invited to attend if you know them at that time, they're invited to attend our November 28th Presidents and Advisors meeting, the chapter presidents and advisors meeting. Kind of the last one that's reserved just for that group in the year is November 28th, because our December chapter presidents meeting is a crossover event. It's the same as TMN Tuesday. So we try to offer a session for TMN Tuesday that kind of applies to both chapter presidents, the leaders, and then as a TMN Tuesday leadership type of topic in general. So, sorry, I need to take this call.
Okay. Okay, so moving into some other resources that we have available. our state website, and so I hope y'all are using that as your kitchen sink for all things for the annual meeting, for TMN Tuesday, for answering questions about getting ready for elections. All of our guiding documents are there. I mentioned Evelyn Gomez at the very beginning of this call, our new student program aide, and once she gets up and running, we'll have some more updates to the website, as that'll be one of the roles that she'll take on for us as well. And then our listserv and our events calendar, as always, serve as a resource for information. Michelle, are you back?
Yes, I'm back. So I mentioned last month that I was evaluating our contract for the WebEx accounts were coming up for review and renewal. And so I was evaluating over the past couple months the regional WebEx accounts. And I will be slimming down those accounts by 3 because there are 3 accounts that have not been used at all year long. And so I don't have the information in front of me, which ones that was. It seems like region 1, 2, and 4, possibly. Those have not been used by any chapter all year long. So we will keep the 3 accounts that are being used by chapters at this time, and I will not be renewing 3 of the accounts. So but if your chapter isn't using it, so it probably doesn't matter. But the region 5, region 6, and I think region 3 are all being used pretty heavily. So based on the records, so we'll be keeping those. The other account we will be eliminating is our webinar account, but that is the TMN Tuesdays, the account that we do all of our TMN Tuesdays on. We're just, the expense on that type of account was, it was extremely expensive, and it was because we had it set up to, from when we were working in the pandemic, when we had as much as 3,000 people attending some of our sessions, and specifically the annual meeting that year. That account was purchased for that, to accommodate that amount of people. We don't have that as many people, or at least that volume of people attending our meetings now. And so I'm able to move everything over to our other WebEx account. So I mention all this, I hope, because I hope it will not cause, I'm hoping it'll be pretty seamless for our TMN Tuesdays. But there is a possibility we may have to move some of our existing TMN Tuesdays, the last 2 of the year, over to the other account, and that might impact just where you log in at. So if that has to be done, we'll have some early communication on that and try to get everybody migrated over to the other account. But bottom line is, right now we're not sure if that's going to be a problem. But in the new year, the new calendar year, we'll be moving all of our TMN Tuesdays to the other WebEx account, which probably wouldn't impact you that much. There's a question in the chat about all the historical recordings be deleted. So Angela, every month recordings are deleted in those regional accounts. So the instructions to chapters is that those, we can't store recordings there forever because we only have so much cloud space with these WebEx accounts. And so I do have to go in monthly and delete recordings on the regional accounts. But on and the other thing you might be asking about is the WebEx accounts for TMN Tuesdays. All of those recordings are downloaded and saved already to either our website, and they're made available through YouTube, through our playlists, and then on our website. So those recordings are not lost. Everything that we do on the WebEx accounts are saved.
Perfect.
Okay.
So some other web updates. We have a monthly web accessibility web press Tech Tuesday coming up. It is the same day as next week's TMN Tuesday. It is the first Tuesday of the month. It will be October 3rd at noon. Both this one and TMN Tuesday will be recorded, so if you're somebody who wants to pick between both, you will have the ability to watch the recording of either one of those. And not be able to watch them both live, but be able to go back to either one of those. So that tx.ag/txmn WordPress is the link that'll get you to the Teams meeting for that Tech Tuesday that is next Tuesday, October 3rd. Some updates that I don't like having to share is we had our fall pop-up store with all kinds of great t-shirts and hats and jackets, and all of this is still going to get to you before the annual meeting, heck or high water. There was a little bit of a snafu with their shipping, and a big thanks to those that helped get that fixed on our end. But we will have these items out, so if your members are asking, hey, I thought I ordered a Master Naturalist anniversary shirt to come into the mail before I go to the annual meeting, don't worry, it's still coming. It'll still be there before you leave for McAllen, and it's a few. I wanted to be wearing one at this meeting today for y'all, but it will probably not be until later this week, early next week that they get out. So just have a little patience with us on that. Something that you can order today, though, and put on your vehicle to come down to McAllen with is your TMN license plate. Always fun to see how many Master Naturalist license plates show up for the annual meeting. We did a little raffle or prize last year for the person who counted the most Master Naturalist license plates at the Houston conference last year. We might do that again this year in McAllen to see how many Dragonfly license plates we can spot. So please bring that vehicle if you can, or get your license plate so that you can bring a license plate down to McAllen with us. And that Q2 update is still valid, as we haven't requested the Q3 report quite yet. We'll do that November 1st. As always, we like to talk about our Master Naturalist Endowment. This is ongoing. This is our long-term funding program for the Master Naturalist. It's our perpetual funding that could provide for the Master Naturalist program for its perpetuity. And we started it in 2016. It is a snowball that is rolling downhill and gaining momentum slowly but steadily. And so if you have any questions about the endowment, we actually will have Brandy Kynes, who is our development director, presenting at the chapter leadership reception that Thursday, October 12th at the annual meeting. She'll be on WebEx joining us remotely to talk about the endowment, give updates on account status, on giving programs that they have, and hopefully to answer any questions that you or your members may have about the Master Naturalist Endowment. Okay, we're almost there. The calendar check for the next month, it's hard to put this in here because really everything revolves around the annual meeting. But we will have both the WordPress training and the TMN Tuesday on October 3rd. Our 12th is our President's meeting, and then everything else. The 12th through the 15th is the Master Naturalist annual meeting. Our next President's meeting, as mentioned earlier, is November 28th, and that will be that one that is open to incoming chapter presidents as well. And then December 12th is our last chapter presidents joint TMN Tuesday for the year, and again, that'll be a joint Tuesday chapter presidents event. Some of those deadlines, registrations closing, milestone hours reporting, chapter memorials, chapter roll call photos, pins and certificates, all of that is due Friday. And then the curriculum book order is due next Tuesday. Okay. Michelle, I had one request for a President's Corner Q&A, and we've got a little bit of time. Not a whole lot, but this President's Corner has been our ability to be able to have a little bit of Q&A time here on the call. I know we are limited to 10 minutes. As Michelle said, she is at a conference and does have a sharp time cutoff here in a little bit. But we did have one chapter send in a question asking if you as a chapter have a process for managing funding requests or sponsorship requests that you get from other entities, programs, partners, projects. How do you do that? Do you have a process in place for handling any of those funding requests that meet the Master Naturalist guidelines? Remember, there are Master Naturalist guidelines for funding requests.
So real quick, before we jumped into that, there is a question in the chat asking about going back to the annual meeting. And Kathy asks, are there any safety suggestions we need to know about driving around McAllen or to field sessions?
I don't think so. I mean, when you and I were down there, we experienced no issues. It's a safe area. The chapter members that we've talked to down there are confident in getting access to all of these sites that we're going to, state parks, nature centers, national wildlife refuges. All of those are great locations to get to go to. Michelle and I, when we went down in February as a preview, got a chance to go around to some of those places and had a great time.
So just maybe some traffic considerations. So the main highway through McAllen
was under construction.
It's under construction, and we've been, though I didn't really like where we traveled when we were down there. I didn't really see heavy traffic that impacted like my travel, but I didn't travel on the highway. We were kind of down on the street level in McAllen. But if you are traveling the highway, my understanding is that that rush hour is a real thing in the valley, and you could sit in traffic for a little bit if you're, do you remember the highway up there? And so if we have someone from the valley on the call today that maybe can answer that question. So all of the annual meeting stuff is, if you're staying at the hotels near the conference center, the traffic issues shouldn't impact you that much, but know that maybe if you have to get on the highway traveling for some of the field sessions, perhaps try to find an alternate route if it's with some side streets to avoid the highway if it's possible, or if it's during high traffic times.
Yep. Thanks for bringing that up, Kathy. Can I go back to my question now?
Yeah.
Okay. So if there are chapters that do have a process for managing sponsorship or funding requests from external partners, if you'll put your name and chapter in the chat, I'll share that with that chapter that is requesting, or if you want to come off mute and share any information that you may have. Or mull it over and bring it to the annual meeting so we can talk about it in person there too.
So question in the chat, are the hotels within walking distance of the convention center? And yes, they are. All five, four of them are absolutely within walking distance. The fifth one, there's a fifth one kind of across the highway that may not be as desirable walking in distance.
Trying to bring it up. So yeah, so it's actually a shared parking lot between these three hotels right here on the north side of Interstate 2. The La Quinta, the Cambria, and the Home 2 share a massive parking lot with the convention center, easily walking distance. The Homewood and Spring Hill, it's two on the other side of the highway. That's a quarter of a mile walk. It's not very far, but it is all, it's under the interstate, so it's all street walking there. So if you're a walker and you have no problems doing that, and you're staying at Homewood or Spring Hill, you could probably leave your car there. But there's a massive parking lot all the way around the convention center. Sorry, I'm just pulling up the chat. Robert from the Valley says, no safety issues. You may see added DPS, Border Patrol, but he was more scared driving through Austin last weekend than driving around the Valley.
Yeah. And one thing I noticed when we were there, the convention center parking lots all have like the parking lot security.
Yeah.
I don't even know what those are called.
There's little vehicles that come up off the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The manned
Trailers.
looking things.
Yeah, and we actually also have security. We have a hired security guard at the convention center. That's part of the requirements of the convention center. And that's to help with all of our vendors, all of our auction items, all of our classroom setup equipment. So we have a hired security staff. Again, that's part of the convention center requirements. That'll be on site the whole time as well. Oh, and Laura says that Homewood has a shuttle. Great. Okay. Good. And Pam, you answered the question perfectly. That was what we had talked about with that chapter, was they had a project that was requesting funds and not volunteers. And we said, it's really volunteer time and expertise that comes first. But they wanted to have a process for going through that consideration. Perfect, Kathy. Yep, that was exactly, y'all are answering the question how this chapter president was answering it in his head, but he wanted to see if there was any other chapter that had a process or a list of questions that they ask themselves when a project, a partner comes to them with a request. What is that kind of standard protocol for going through that request? First, let's offer volunteers and manpower, on the ground work, and what that looks like. So y'all are great. Okay, are there any other questions, annual meeting or otherwise? Nope, great. All right, we will see you guys in 2 weeks. I'll have a bunch of emails in your inbox, and for those that we'll see virtually, we'll see you online in 2 weeks, and those that we'll see in person, can't wait to get down there. Safe travels to the annual meeting, everybody. I'm excited.
See y'all soon.
Bye.